what's up my friends? Welcome back to my kitchen. In this video, we're going to test and review the Ninja Professional Blender 1000. This is a 1000 peak watt blender with a 64 ounce max capacity blending pitcher. This is one of the most simple yet useful units in the Ninja blender lineup. Now I want to mention at the top of this video, this is not sponsored by Ninja. I used my own money to buy it so that I could be fair and balanced in my test and analysis of it. In this video, we're going to go through the contents of the box. We're going to go over every feature of the unit. We're also going to test the sound to see how loud it is. We're going to crush ice. We're going to make a smoothie. And most importantly, we're going to have some fun. You are looking at the entire contents of the box right here. It's a very simple setup, very simple unit. So you have the base unit. I'm going to talk about all of the settings and the buttons and the cord and all that sort of stuff in just a second. You also have the pitcher, which is a locking pitcher onto the unit. That comes with the patent Ninja lid with a very special release mechanism and a pour spout. We'll talk about those in just a second. And then of course you have the 6-prong blade that is super sharp. I probably shouldn't be whipping it around like that. Super sharp, so be careful, but that helps in cleaning the unit and storage and replacement if you ever need to. It also comes with a user guide and I think some recipes, a book of recipes. Let's dive into some of the features and usage of this actual blender. This is a very simple version of the Ninja blender. So the base alone is fairly small. It's not huge. I mean, if you compare it to my hand, so it doesn't take a lot of cabinet real estate. You have a short cord on the back side of it, pretty standard for blenders. It's about a 2.5 foot cord. So know that you got to be close to power source when you're going to operate this thing. And then on the top, you have your typical blender wheel and then the locking mechanism. I'll show you, there's a few things about the locking mechanism that are a little funky and I want to show you those. Now you also have the control panel. So we have a simple power button here to turn it on. We have a pulse button so that you can run it yourself manually, pulsing if you want to, sometimes with smoothies or nut butters. You also have a low, medium, and high setting. That's it. None of the complicated IQ stuff or special buttons that Ninja does on some of their other units. Now let's take a look at the pitcher and the lid. So this is the bottom side of the pitcher. You can see just that simple wheel spinning there. Now the simpler this mechanism, the better from my perspective for cleaning. You also have the blade, which I've shown you before, but here's a close-up look on it. And it has that multi-blade technology so that it can move the substance up and down throughout the pitcher as it's blending. Super sharp, seems like very sturdy plastic on this thing. Now the other cool thing about the Ninja design is that the blade goes the full length of the pitcher. So of course, it locks down into the bottom of the pitcher, but if you look at the bottom of the lid as well, it has a hole for this top pin to go into. So if you've got lots amounts of ice in here or something like that, that holds that blade nice and sturdy and it's going to be able to handle more things than just that simple single blade down at the bottom. Of course, you have measuring lines on each side of the pitcher. On this side, you've got ounces and cups, max at 64 ounces, max 8 cups. Then on this side, you have 1.9 liters and you have a max of 1900 milliliters. The handle's nice and big, easy for grabbing, especially when your hands are wet and messy. The lid has this locking mechanism, which is pretty cool. Here's the funky thing. You see this little arrow right here and this little arrow right here on the lid? Those have to match up in order for the lid to go on and to lock into place. This has thrown me many times, especially when I'm in a hurry or my hands are messy, all of that kind of stuff. So just think about the usability of that. If that doesn't bother you, no big deal. To take the lid off, you use this big release button right here, pop that open, pull it off. On the lid, you also have this really nice pour spout. I love this feature because other blenders, if it doesn't have the pour spout, you're just pouring like this, that pour stream can get really wide and it could be too wide for a cup or a bowl that you're pouring into. So I love that this just funnels all of that down into this little pour spout. We're gonna see this in action when we make a smoothie in just a second. This is all, of course, really sealed with some nice rubber sealing, both around each of the rims. Now, again, there are some added things to clean here. Inevitably, you're gonna get some things down into the cracks of the button, the mechanism of the locking handle, and also into the lid of the pour spout. So all of these features are really nice, but they also include some additional cleaning. Okay, the last thing I want to mention is the actual locking mechanism when we put the pitcher onto the unit. So it is very specific about where it needs to be. The handle has to be towards the front when you lock it in, or it won't actually work. And I don't know if I'll be able to do this very smooth because I mess it up every single time. Oh, I did it. So it sets down like that when it's ready to be locked, and then all you have to do is just twist it to lock. Now the handle can be on this side. That would be technically right-handed if I was facing this thing, or it can also be left-handed on that side. It cannot go to the back. So let's plug this thing in and test the sound, some ice crushing, and ultimately make a smoothie with it. All right, so in each one of these tests, I'm gonna run a decibel meter. I know you would never run this thing empty, but let's get ourselves a baseline. All right, 97.5 decibels, fairly loud at just the motor running. Next, I wanna crush some ice. I wanna see how thin we can get it. And I'm also gonna run the sound test while I'm doing it so we can see how much louder it is than just the motor. There I go, trying to put the lid on wrong again. All right, here we go. So we got up to 101.5 decibels. It was significantly louder than just the motor running, but that's to be expected. Now let's check out the consistency of the ice. Wow, this is really thin. That is absolute snow cone ice. Okay, so the next test I wanna do is a one-person smoothie. That's one of the things that I've found with blenders of this size is that it can be challenging to just make one personal smoothie. I end up making something really big, or it doesn't blend because it's so little. We've got almond milk, we've got some Greek yogurt, about 3/4 of a cup Greek yogurt, about a half a cup frozen berries, about a cup of baby kale, a half banana, and then some ice. I'm gonna put the almond milk in first. So I put in just a little bit less than 8 ounces of almond milk. The next thing is I'm going to do my fresh fruit first. I always put the frozen stuff towards the top. Seems to help it blend just a little bit better. So fresh fruit first, then greens. Oh, the delicious kale. Then all of my thicker substances. Then let's go to the frozen. So let's get the berries and the ice. So this is my recipe for about a 16-ounce smoothie. Let's pop the lid on here, and I'm just gonna hold it on a pulse. Doing the smoothie, our decibel meter hit 98.8. It is a little bit loud. I also wanna show you what I'm noticing right away is I have a little bit of yogurt here stuck to the side of the pitcher. I don't know how to avoid that. You can kind of give it a shake to try to get as much of that yogurt as possible, but it's a good amount. So it actually didn't really mix all of it in. That's one of the downfalls of having such a large container and making such a little bit of smoothie. Let's pour this out and check the consistency. This is where I love this little nozzle right here. That looks fantastic. I just want to show you a close-up of the consistency. Very smooth, consistent throughout the entire smoothie. Yeah, baby. That looks delicious. All right, my friends, pros of this blender. It comes in around 80 bucks. I've bought blenders for hundreds of dollars, and this thing absolutely compares to those. So price point is right on. Simplicity, I love the simplicity. If I'm just doing simple things and I know what level I want it on and how long I want to blend it for, this is a perfect option. Capacity is fantastic. The blade is awesome. The smoothness of the content after it's blended is just like any other professional, really expensive blender that I've used. As I mentioned earlier, I love the pouring feature. I know it's small, but it's meaningful. It makes less of a mess. It's not gonna take a huge amount of space on my countertop or my cupboard. Now the cons of this thing. The specificity in the ways that things have to go together is a little bit confusing to me. Maybe I'm weird, but I put the lid on wrong every single time. I put the pitcher on wrong every single time. Probably won't happen to you. It's probably just a me thing. Cleaning, there's a lot of crevices, there's a lot of cracks to clean out every time you clean this thing. Maybe that's just the pain of having a blender in general or using a blender, but it is something that I notice. But honestly, there's not very many things that I don't love about this blender. I've linked to this blender in the description down below. If you buy it using that link, it throws me a couple bucks, helps me do these videos, and it doesn't cost you a thing. So thank you so much for using that. And of course, don't forget to like this video if it's been helpful. Subscribe so you don't miss a single review or recipe from my kitchen. I hope you have an amazing day. Peace.